Hey guys, Stealth here and welcome back to Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts, the tournament. We're in Group B today, playing a round of China versus Russia. Now both of these nations have lost. The Russians have lost to the Japanese, the Chinese got burned down real quick by the Austro-Hungarians. So let's see how well they do when they encounter each other. Is it going to be the Russian 15-inchers that take the fight, or are the Russians going to be too busy, you know, turning around and using only those stern inch, or the stern 8-inchers? Let's find out. This tournament is kindly sponsored by The Block Zone. You can see them here. The winner is going to get this 1 in 200 scale. It's a big one. Bismarck. The Bismarck is going to be taking up 1.25 meters in your living room once you have all 7,164 pieces complete. If you want to get a project from the Block Zone, they have a lot of them. They got military gear. I've recently actually made this car with Quinn. I'll add a clip. And they got all sorts of different gear. You can go for cars. You can go for military vehicles, which you might find yourself interested in, ranging from anything like a Ferdinand, a bridge layer, Abrams. We got a missile carrier tank. This seems to be something out of an odd contraption game. They got many projects, and yes, these projects are not necessarily cheap, but if you use code STEALTH upon checkout or use my link down below in the description, you're going to be getting 10% off, and you directly support the channel. Big thank you to the Block Zone for sponsoring the tournament and providing that Bismarck to the eventual winner, but we're not there yet. First we have a couple of battles to do. Join me for the next one. Kinburn, Belarus, and Kaluga. Proud Russian warships sporting 15-inch guns. But bow only. Could be a problem, could be a benefit, depending on how the AI sails. If they turn away, goodbye firepower. That does not work. They still, however, have 8-inchers on the sides, as well on the stern. Those 8-inchers have a pretty decent rate of fire, reload 11 seconds, and this means that they'll be able to put a lot of HE damage onto targets. And as we have seen in a couple of battles before, that does tend to sink ships. Extensive fire has caused more ship sinkings or more eliminations than I would like to see, honestly. Now, the Chinese are no stranger to being eliminated by fire. Their 15.9-inch guns are in a standard ABXY format. They did have a bit of a problem facing the Austro-Hungarians. Austro-Hungarians, 12-inch guns, and they went down really quickly. They burned very hard, and the Chinese ships were very swiftly dealt with. The Chinese against the Russians, I am curious to see, because at range, the Chinese have a very serious advantage. They have a lot of pen chance, and if they can make good on this pen chance, then they can pretty quickly sink, or at least cripple, a Russian warship. If they cripple it, and the ship decides, well, I'm going to fall back into formation, I want to sail behind the Kaluga now, that means she turns away, and no more firepower from one of those ships. The 8-inchers, well, they got me a little worried. You can already see them going off. They're right now just using AP, probably because HE isn't actually in range yet. We're still looking at, yeah, 17.3 or 16.5. They don't have that range. So, for now, oof. See, there's the Chinese advantage. Full pen on Belarus. Right now they don't have the range with HE yet, but they will, fairly shortly. And when they do, the Chinese ships are going to be in for a really rough time. Because it wouldn't be the first time that the Chinese superstructure armor, or rather, the lack of it, that is if I'm saying this correctly, some of these ships have low superstructure armor, like 2 inches. That burns really nicely when subjected to an HE spam. The Belarus has taken on quite a bit of water. Is she going to get hit again? Close. She should be able to pump that out, right? I mean, it's not going to be that disastrous. You got double hull bottom, anti-flood 3, reinforced bulkhead 2, and maximum bulkhead, so you should be fine. It's just that the Chinese have delivered a couple of blows, and the Russians really haven't. Surprisingly so. I mean, these 15-inch guns are no slouch. They got a lot of firepower in them. we're looking at a range where we're probably going to transition from, let's say, deck hits to bow or belt hits at this point. So I'm kind of expecting to see some some Russian damage go in against these Chinese ships rather soon. But they're just not hitting. And the Chinese are, and that's more flooding on the Belarus. Now, the Belarus is the leader of her class, as designed by Trigger Matty. She's fighting the Wang. And, well, Key Knight seems to have done a good job so far. I mean, against the Austro-Hungarians, yeah, that was rough. They might be able to get some points against the Russians. The Russian shells are just getting blocked every single time. And it does look like the Belarus is really suffering from that flooding. She's down to 61%. She's still struggling with 3 compartments. Now, she does have a regular crew. That could be a problem. Means less accurate damage or less efficient damage control. And I mean, they already get a bonus, right? They get 21%. The issue is, the Chinese, with their better crews, just get better damage control. So in the moment they take hits, they're going to be far faster on fixing up the damage and especially cancelling out floodings. The Chinese might suffer from another problem at this point though, as the 8-inchers from Kaluga and Belarus and Kinburn are now raining down on this ship, and the Russians finally landed an actual damaging hit here. Of course, immediately, yeah, the Chinese might... And this is what I meant, right? I predicted this happening. Belarus changes her formation, or her position in the formation, and with that turn is unable to bring her bow turrets to bear. So this means a lot of lost DPS on the Russian side. On top of that, she's listing over to starboard. And this list is going to potentially make it difficult for her to fire her guns. The Chinese have taken some damage. I'm not seeing nearly enough fires to lose this ship yet. And so far, it's just a lot of ricochets and bounces and blocks. So, at this point in the battle, I'd say the Russians have it... well, they're going to have a lot of trouble coming back from this, let's put it that way. The Chinese... They might... Whoa. Really far over. They might find that they very easily win this. Belarus still the focal point. Listing badly, but firing. 7.9% chance to hit. 9%. Kinburn switching targets and Kaluga is looking at 26. She's flooding again. Another bow compartment or 2 taken on water. And those salvos are unrelenting. The chance to pen for the Chinese is probably decreased somewhat, because they can't exactly pen the deck anymore. The shells don't hit the deck, but they do hit the belt, and they hit the belt rather hard. You're looking at 49% chance to pen. That's basically 1 in every 2 shells, if they hit, will likely pen. So the Belarus... Oh, and there's also secondary fire from the Chinese ships, which is 5.9s. So it might, this time around, be the Chinese that burn down ships. Although I rather hope that they actually flood one for good measure, and that we don't see every single ship go down to extensive fire. Because it's just a cheesy mechanic to take down ships. More salvos going out from the Russians, targeting no longer the middle Chinese battlecruiser, but the lead one. And just harmlessly ricocheting off of the side of the ship. At this point, the Chinese have 5k registered damage, the Allies have 17, so that's the Russians. Oh, Kinburn's armor just isn't there. She's... oh boy, she's somewhat angled, but look at that damage. That's 1, 2, 3 floodings, 4 floodings. The Russians are in so much trouble. The only thing that might save them now is something like a torpedo. If they're able to land 1, ideally several torpedoes onto the Chinese ships, maybe the Chinese will lose a ship, and with that DPS. But the angle with these side launchers is very, very narrow. And Kinburn is turning back to port, effectively negating any potential torpedo attack that she might have. Now the Russians have leveled the playing field somewhat. Oof. Well, they had. We're looking at 5k to 10k. So it's no longer a 3-to-1, it's just a 2-to-1. Ooh, that was a good one. On the aft deck, no less. Your shells are that slow? Yeah, they are. Okay. The AP shells only have a muzzle velocity of 711 meters per second. They are really, really slow. So that means that they're still getting deck pen. I'm very surprised. Most ships use slightly longer barrels, and that means a higher muzzle velocity. These ships don't. And now it's the Chinese ship that, because of that damage, is forced to turn around. In the case of the Chinese, however, it means that they lose 50% of their firepower, not 100%, because Kinburn is turning away, trying to fall in formation, probably behind the Belarus, or at least behind the Kaluga, because Kaluga is now the new division leader. And this means all the turrets on Kinburn are out of action. Kinburn still hasn't launched torps. Kaluga hasn't launched torps either. She's trying. She's looking to target something. They definitely have the range. They're also very sneaky at minus 76, so if these things actually get launched, they might very well hit. That was some... yeah, some flooding, some structural damage. But just look at the state of the Russian ships. The Belarus only needs a little bit more attention before she goes down. Kinburn is half health, and Kaluga is starting to take serious damage. And here comes the next salvo. And that, well, she got away scot-free there. Could have been a heck of a lot worse. Still no torpedo attacks. Kaluga taking hit after hit after hit. That's 2200 damage right there. Flooding, engine out of commission, rudder down. Kinburn coming back into the fight. Yeah, we got the Quanzhou falling behind a little bit, but she's still very much capable of engaging the Russian ships with good accuracy. And we're looking at about, what was that, 86% it suddenly said? Outgoing torpedo from the Chinese ships. They are firing 22-inch torpedoes, but they're fast. That means they're far more visible. Kaluga, Kinburn, and Belarus not sending their own torpedoes. These Chinese ships do have an anti-torpedo blister, but it's only an anti-torp 1. And they don't have a sonar, so if the Russians would send torps, there's a really good chance that they'll actually hit the Chinese. Sorry, the Russians. No, if the Russians launch, they'll hit the Chinese. And do, well, considerate amounts of damage to them. Based on what I'm seeing here, I'm thinking the crew just makes a lot of difference. And if you look at the amount of damage control bonus that you get, it's 60% for the veterans on the Chinese ships. It's 21% for the Russian regulars. So the Russians simply don't have the crew experience to make these ships be able to fix themselves when they get into trouble. Speaking of trouble, Belarus and Kinburn have collided. And this means that Kinburn is basically dead in the water. Belarus is being pushed back to starboard, again making it difficult for her turrets to fire. Although I think the list is more than enough to worry about right now. Alternatively, we can try explaining this thing away as the most brilliant torpedo dodge that you've ever seen the AI do. But I think I'd rather write it up to sheer incompetence of the AI. Good lord, this is very one-sided. The Huizhou just hasn't taken any damage. 99% structural. There's more damage and more flooding on the Kinburn. Belarus hanging on by a thread. And that was the last thread for her. Kaluga not looking too good herself. Badly listing over to starboard. Turrets are taking on water. The rudder is failing to really respond. Ship doesn't really seem to know where to point her A and B turrets anyway. And Kinburn, well, she's trying to fall back into formation and it's costing her her main guns. This is what happens, right? This is what happens. It is possible to make these ships work, bow in, like very slowly, line abreast, point all guns at one target and keep shooting until it's dead. This way, and the AI is controlling it, does not work. Now this does make me really wonder, can I do better? If these ships were under my control, can I do better? Because if you're taking the shells from the Chinese bow on, you can pretty decently survive. You can angle, you can ricochet, you close in, you dump 3 torpedoes at them, and you call it a day. And sure enough, the Chinese will try and repay the favor, but they're 27 knot ships. The Russian ships are doing 39 on a good day. Today is not a good day for them. So they can close the distance, they can dump torpedoes, they can hit the Chinese, and then comes the difficult part, disengaging. You don't really do that with the Russian ships. And now that I'm thinking about it, the whole situation where they have bow turrets and side-mounted torpedoes doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Because these ships work best when they're bow in. You present a very small profile, you make sure that your bow is heavily armored, and this ship has an okay amount of armor. It's not great, it's 7 inches. If you then manage to ricochet a whole lot of shells and deal a whole bunch of damage with the main guns, then you'll never even need your torpedo launchers. If something managed to get to your side, then you have done something wrong. Now, in the case of Trigger Matty, I kind of understand. Because it is entirely likely that... What? Now they're phasing through each other, okay. It's entirely likely that he thought, well, the AI might not take that logic, and they'll just cruise right in. And they did. And it cost them the battle. So, I'm going to retry this as a rare occurrence, and I'm going to try and do better than the AI. This will not impact the score, the Chinese still have won, but I'm very curious to see if I'm able to do better. We're going to see if we can get... Let's see, the range is 20, 22... I can pen 54 inches of armor with AP. We're going to go for deck pen, especially considering that these things are basically mortars. Look at that firing arc. That's really high. So we got the Tolyatti, the Romanov, na Murmane, and the Belarus. I'm going to keep... Whoa, look at that. I'm going to set these things at a casual half speed. Allow the rest of the ships to fall in. And let's see what happens. Now the Chinese still have a serious chance to do a whole lot of damage against the deck. But as you can see, the closer I get, the more that damage, or that damage potential, gets negated. And the pen chance just decreases with every seemingly 100 meters that I close in. Range, 17 kilometers, partial pen again. I do need to make sure my ships keep focusing on the same target. I'll take the lead one, thank you very much. Another bit of decent damage. Missed the next bit. These things reload in 35 seconds, so they're not bad. You can see that the Chinese... Well, they're getting some damage in, but that was a lot of ricochets. Pen. I'm hoping to knock out a main tower or something to that effect. Pen. Where are they penning me? 4 deck. Shit. Need to close in. Oh, there we go. Pen. Rudder damaged. Flooding damage. What's the chance to pen the Tolyatti? Pretty decent. It's the 4 deck. The 4 deck and the superstructure just aren't that heavily armored. With the superstructure I understand. With the 4 deck, that's a bit harder to explain away. The 4 deck's only 5 inches. Now we're dealing a serious amount of damage against the Chinese ship here. They're at about, what, 80 to 70% health? The thing I need to be worried about is their torpedo launchers, but much like the Russian ships, they're underwater. So very narrow firing arc, and they're fast. So I should have some opportunity to dodge those. Let's see if we can make something happen with this next salvo. Now, I know that HE spam against these Chinese ships might work. The Austro-Hungarians have done it before me. But I'm going to see how far I can get with just firing armor piercing. Damage to main tower and flooding. Bring on the next salvo. The Chinese are a bit angled though. Yep, more damage to the main tower. Range. Now, sub 10 kilometers. So we're looking at belt chance pen, or belt pen of about 52. Which is definitely sufficient. As we're showing, we're getting main belt, partial pen, main tower pen. Oh, they switched targets. The Chinese appear to have taken on the Togliatti. And look at this. If you bow in at shorter ranges, you're not invulnerable, but you can shrug off a lot of damage. And sure enough, my superstructure's taking damage. It's gonna cost me crew, but I can just ricochet a whole lot more than I could at that greater range, and with being broadside. And I wouldn't be surprised if rather quickly we can take out this Chinese ship. She's now starting to turn back, so she must have fallen behind there. This means we're going to have her flat broadside to shoot at, and we're going to take that opportunity. I want the Belarus to speed up a little. I want you to speed up a little. Yeah, this only works for the whole formation, of course. Maintain fire. Maintain your target. I've now done more damage to the Chinese than the Chinese have done to me. Oh, boys, that was your opportunity. That was it, right there. And you wasted it. Partial pen only. Oh, dude. Now, at this point, you could argue, well, you should be targeting a different ship because damage instability. Yes, but no. The reason that I'm not doing that is because at this range, it doesn't really matter. At great ranges, not having the accuracy, not landing the hits, that's where it matters. At these shorter ranges, it just doesn't matter that much. Now, the Chinese have sent a very narrow spread of 3 torps at this lead battlecruiser, the Togliatti. So we're going to turn out of the way. And this is something that the AI might actually be better at than I am. Because the AI tends to have, well, some instant knowledge about incoming torpedoes. This HE volley could prove to be interesting. If it hits. Yeah, most of it got blocked. Block, 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 block. Look at all the shells ricocheting off the bow and harmlessly falling to the seabed behind the Togliatti. 97, 90, and 87. Alright. Cute set of torpedoes you got there. This guy is probably going to be next. What's my chance to pen? 36% only. Which armor you got? 4 belt, 7 inch plus 140. So you got a decent amount of 4 belt armor, but not that much. Can we pen that with our secondary? Sorry, with our HE? No, we can't. Go back to AP. Because this thing was really badly angled. And now she's not. 40%. This is going to start to hurt. There it is. Now, normally I would probably keep the Togliatti here. And send in, let's say, the Belarus. And potentially the Romanov for short-range fighting. This case, I won't do it. Because I think it's not how the AI would / could fight. They tend to keep everything in one formation. Not necessarily their best choice, but that's the way that this ship is used. So I won't actually have, let's say, a ship single-handedly fight off the enemy. And that also means that I don't really control the Togliatti as much as I would like, because I can't have her turn back. She's now really vulnerable, and thankfully the ships all appear to be focused on the Belarus, this one. Meaning that the Togliatti might have some time to fix her damage. Decent damage there. Destroy the main gun. Now we're getting somewhere. Now we're getting somewhere. That's a lot of damage on Belarus. Oh, which way are you going to turn, dude? Because I'm going to try and turn the other way. I do not need a collision. I don't want to be slowed down. And I don't want to present one enormous target. And that's exactly what I was trying to prevent right there. And this torpedo is going to be very, very inopportune. Oh, now we're leading with the Romanov. Oh, Togliatti, you're going to be in trouble. Yep, that's 2,000 points of damage. That's a lot of damage. Okay, this is the part where everything has gone wrong, because we're simply not dealing the damage that I need. Although that was a really nice hit. So I'm going to try to send the port launcher against the lead battlecruiser here, the Wang. And with that, hope that I can surprise them with 3 torpedoes. Because they won't see them coming, as we have established. That's a lot of damage here. Launch. I don't care what your launch odds are, just send it. There. Come on. Got one. 3 torps. Launched. Now you're going to have to do a very sharp turn to port and slow your ass down. Because you're very vulnerable right about now. Switch to that target, everybody. Don't care about the Wang. I don't want her slowed down. I don't want her damaged. She has a meeting to attend to. And is right there. It's 3 torps. And she's nicely on target to make her appointment. Damn it, who's leading now? Oh, it's still the Romanov. Okay. I'm not sure if she knows about the torps. I think she doesn't. But... oh, she got slowed down just a notch. Come on, Romanov. Thankfully, the Yiwu hasn't sent torps. See, now it's actually turning into a pretty close fight. Now it's turning into a very interesting battle. Lots of damage on the Yiwu. Increase speed. Try to maintain that angle. And maintain your bow, well, your bow elements on the target. Oh shit, the Belarus is useless. He's listing too much. Nice! 4,000 points of damage. Now we're getting somewhere. Damn it, who's leading? Oh, it's the Tolyatti. Okay, fine. The Tolyatti has engine, or has rudder damage, so she can't turn very well. I'm gonna make sure that she turns with whatever she has left, as hard as she can to starboard, so that ideally the port launchers... yeah, we do have 2 port launchers available, are gonna hit the lead ship here. I've set the launch to aggressive, so the moment that they have a shot, they should instantly launch. They're not doing it. Target the Yiwu. I never heard of a torpedo launcher with an angle issue. But it's possible that the ship's turning too quickly now. Oh boy. Romanov is taking a lot of damage here. Now truthfully, I don't believe that we'll actually be able to take down the ships. Simply because we don't have the health anymore. But I feel like I've come a lot farther than the AI did. Look at that damage. Yiwu is just tanking it like a champ. Come on, dude. Try and hit something. Anything. You got your launchers ready. It's turning into one big mess. Yeah, you're gone. Your flooding's gonna kill you. Good damage. Another main turret's been destroyed on the Yiwu. Excuse me. If only the Belarus was controlling the formation, but it's the Tolyatti. And again, this is partly to simulate what the AI could do. They don't split the divs, so neither will I. Nice. Do more. Flooding might take them down. %. Oh boy. It's this battlecruiser that's gonna kill everybody else, though. Yiwu down to 7% buoyancy. Ooh. 5. Another issue that I have is none of my guns are functioning. So at this point, I've basically been upgraded to having a couple... There she goes! Yibu's down. To just having a couple of really big gunboats. But now some guns are firing. If only the torpedo launchers would. That's what I really need. The torpedo launchers. And the Toyati is just doing circles. Uh-oh. Wow, that's gonna miss. Because the ship completely underestimated the fact that I am doing turns non-stop. Yeah, I think the battlecruiser here is gonna take me down one bit at a time. But at least this turned into a fight that's much closer. Ooh. Toyati got punished there. Superstructure's been destroyed. Come on, Toyati, I need you to sink. There, because now I can control the Belarus again. Boink. I'm trying to ram this ship into the enemy, but without a functioning rudder, that's not likely to happen. Well, she did do a lot of damage, and she just destroyed a stern turret, but too little, too late. So the Chinese ships reigned supreme twice. I was not able to do it. If you want to try for yourself, you can download all the designs from the link down below in the description. So that way you can see if you actually can do better. And if you do, then by all means, let me know. So, record-keeping time. It is a point to the Chinese. They were able to show that the Russian design it has its strengths, but it also has its weaknesses. As they turn around, they lose a lot of the DPS. So, where does this leave the various teams standing? Very undecided when it comes to Pool B. We got 1 win for Japan, 1 for Austria-Hungary, 1 win for China, but the Chinese have also lost 1. So that means they're going to have to work a lot harder to fix that up. The Russians not doing very well, losing 2 fights so far. As for the other side, the Germans leading the A group, and the upcoming match is going to be US versus UK. We haven't seen the US fight yet. How well is that Super Atlanta going to perform? How well are those 13.5-inch guns going to do against the UK? Find out in the next match. Be sure you're subscribed, hit the like button down below if you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you soon for the next battle.